working for a smaller company than these massive organisations?
I mean, certainly it's different. I think that one of the lovely things about working for a smaller company is that you have got perhaps more of an opportunity to make a difference and be heard, if you like, and really get to know your colleagues and be part of a team and sort of really understand the goals of the business and be part of that and make a difference. So that's, I think, one of the key differences. Obviously, when you're working for a huge organisation, you can become quite anonymous. Under one roof, you will have, lots of different departments that are all working together. So you'll have a huge HR department, finance department, marketing department, brand managers, admin department. So there's, I suppose, sort of you can get to see businesses as a whole, whereas when you're in a smaller business, you're operating sort of more independently as one facet to a bigger industry. I mean, certainly when I sort of first started out, being immersed in such a sort of big company, it was quite overwhelming, but at the same time I could really have the chance to understand all different departments, even roles and jobs and things that I had no idea existed. For instance, sort of when I first started out working at the magazine, from being at university, I just assumed that there was a few roles on the magazine, perhaps an editor, a journalist, and then more of a creative director role. And then actually when I arrived there, already employed in the magazine, there was, managing editor, PA to the editor, features assistant, photo editor, art director, bookings editor. There was probably 20 plus roles that I had absolutely no idea existed. So I suppose from that point of view, it was quite good to understand, this whole vast area of an industry that I had no idea until I was dropped in the middle existed. So from that point of view, it was good. But now I really enjoy being part of a smaller company, working with a team and being part of that team to make a difference, really.
And if a young person is at that, and if they're sort of finishing their university career or they're finishing their college career and they're looking to go into the world of work, would you suggest going to a big company first, a small company first, or do you think all those experiences are different? They're probably a little bit the same anyway. So do you think it really matters, or is it worth going and doing your time, if you like, in a big company to figure out how those cogs work and how the whole organisation works, to then come to a small company later on and have more of an impact maybe?
I think it's more, perhaps, rather than trying to define the experience by the size of the company, I think it's more about their ethos. And I think what's really important is when you're first starting out with your career, that you have got people around you who have got some experience, who are willing to mentor you, who are willing to help you, not just with obviously the skill set for that particular career, but also for life skills. Just there's a lot, learning how to communicate and sort of good business practice, all of those things, which just really, I think, helps give you the confidence to grow in your chosen career. So I think it's more about making sure that where you're going actually values you as an employee and gives you the support that you need when you're just starting out, because it can be, quite intimidating, overwhelming, all of those emotions that you're experiencing perhaps for the first time. So I don't necessarily think that comes with being, yes, a bigger company might have a huge HR department or a training scheme in place, but that's not to say that, in a smaller company you can have that mentoring or that one-to-one as well. So I think that's really important. And it depends, what sort of a job that you're doing. It might be that you're training off-site one day a week, or that you're there all the time, or it just very much depends, I suppose, if you're doing an apprenticeship role or what you're doing. But I think it is important to have somebody there who's really kind of, you can shadow and you can really learn a lot from.
And if you were going to start out again then, and if you were going to sort of take your journey again, let's say a little bit younger than university and A-levels, maybe let's say year 9, year 10, that sort of age range, what would you be doing now maybe to put yourself ahead? And maybe at that age as well, you haven't got access to all the technologies that you would have at university and a college. You're at school, maybe you've only got a phone and a less powerful computer, let's say. What sort of stuff would you maybe be doing at that age to kind of make sure that you've got a passion for digital marketing and being creative? What would you be doing at that age just to push yourself along a little bit further and expose yourself to the industry?
Yeah, I think I would probably be trying to experience and do as much research as possible. So that could be, going to visit exhibitions, going to visit different places, even, you know, different cities, not just because, you know, not necessarily because I want to go and work in that particular city, but just to experience, you know, all sorts, you know, from the architecture to the food to the shop to the commercial to the art galleries, everything, you know, just really experience as much as possible when you've got the opportunity to do so, I think, because, you know, it's the perfect time. You almost haven't got any worries, you know, obviously the responsibilities, you know, are there from a learning point of view, but financially, and, you know, it's a great time to travel at the weekends when you can, and then use your time when you're not learning, to read as much as possible, to watch films, to kind of see what's out there, really, because I think really you just scratch the surface. And then the great thing as well is having everything sort of with the digital age at your fingertips, is that you can look at something that you're interested in, and then it will lead you on, sort of springboard you into whole areas that you didn't really perhaps knew were out there to explore. So I would just say don't be afraid, and don't kind of pigeonhole yourself or put too much pressure to go down one particular route. Just enjoy experimenting with all sorts of different things, especially, you know, if you are a creative person, that can come across in all sorts: music, film, culture, you know. So just enjoy it, really.
And one thing I found as well, I don't know if it's the same in the digital marketing world, but sometimes the creative stuff that I do and the bits and bobs of content that I pick up, not necessarily in a related field, but they all end up intermerging anyway.
Absolutely.
So you could pick up something from an Instagram page you don't normally visit, and that springs an idea into something else. So is that the same in digital marketing? Do you pick up inspiration from, I don't know, maybe going to Tesco's at the weekend? Is there, or you go to a city, and a European city, no, actually there's a little bit there that not directly related to my industry, but it could be actually little bits I could take away from that. So is that the same in digital marketing?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And just have a real open mind, and try and see it, you know, see everything and be really open. And that, as you say, that could be a piece of music that you hear, or something being played that evokes a feeling. It could be a colour combination that you see. It could be a piece of literature or ephemera that you've picked up from an event. You know, it could just be a feeling. It could be anything. So yeah, absolutely. Just always be really open, and to be inspired.
So reflecting back then, looking back over your career, and if you were to have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation with your younger self, let's say once you finish university, so you're coming out into the big wide world, what if you had the chance to sit down for 10 minutes, what would you say? Any bits of advice you'd give? Maybe do things a little bit different at some stages. What would you say, and what sort of bits of advice would you give?
I would probably say not to be in so much of a hurry, and not to put too much pressure to get to the next step. So I think very much, and a lot of this comes obviously with personalities, and you know, when you're coming through school, right from the point that you start school, you're always like, right, well, I'm going into the next year, and then I'm going here, and then I'm going on to further education, then potentially higher education. So you're always sort of following a path that you've got vaguely mapped out, or you have to until you're 16. And then suddenly I think I was very much, oh my goodness, the pressure is on now. It's suddenly down to me. I've got to get a job. I've got to do this, and this is the area I've chosen. Whereas I think if I was to have that time again, I would be a little bit more relaxed, and not get so anxious about it, just to actually enjoy the process, and perhaps do a bit more work experience, and take a bit more time over it, really. And you know, if you want to, if that involves taking a year out to travel, or to go and do something abroad that's not even related necessarily to your career, not to be afraid, because it might be that you do something and then it ties in, or it can suddenly open doors to a completely different career that you haven't considered. But I think it's great now looking for, young people, and when you're looking at people's CVs, if they've experienced something, or they've travelled, or they've gone and had some life experience, then that's always hugely valuable as well. So I think perhaps I would have taken a bit of time out and maybe travelled, or which I didn't do. I just was like, I've got to get a job straight away. Yeah,
travel can be useful for that, can't it? It makes you think on your feet a little bit, especially when maybe you're a student, you've not got a lot of money, so those experiences are really vital, aren't they? So just take a bit of time really and enjoy it. Wonderful. Well, on that note, we'll finish off, and thank you very much for your time, and hopefully some young people, some budding marketeers around the county will have taken some useful value away from that.
I hope so.